We believe that a child, when it comes to a lab, when is learning something, should focus on learn, make, and discover.
Hi everyone. Today we have with us Ms. Monica Yadav, who is the founder of Respire Experiential Learning. Respire focuses on STEAM, that is science, technology, engineering, arts, and maths, learning solutions for schools by partnering with private, government, and CSR organizations. Ms. Yadav is working on making 21st century skills accessible to school-going students. She has experience of 6+ years working in diverse locations ranging from metro cities to tribal villages for setting up makers, tinkering labs in schools. She is engaged with Global Shapers Community, an initiative of the World Economic Forum as a shaper, former curator of the Ahmedabad Hub, and is currently serving as a member of the Global Steering Committee on Education and Employment. Ms. Yadav is also a mentor for Atal Tinkering Labs, an initiative under the Atal Innovation Mission of NITI Aayog, Government of India. She is also a co-chair of CII, that is Indian Women Network, Gujarat chapter. Thank you so much for joining us today, Ms. Yadav, and I'm really looking forward to our conversation.
Thank you, Isha, and thank you for the kind introductions. Let's begin.
Yeah. All right, ma'am. So to begin with, I would like to ask with the very first question for today that in a world where kids are into rote learning, Respire Experiential Learning is on a mission to bring a change. And our real focus is on uplifting understanding capability, problem solving aptitude, and adaptability through experiential learning for kids. So could you shed some light on the REL model of experiential learning that inspires the kids to learn and make their career in the field of science, technology, engineering, and maths?
Yes. So, Isha, as you said very correctly, that right now a lot of children are into rote learning. So they are giving examinations, they are focused on getting those marks, but they don't know that what is it going to getting applied. Now, if we see at the gap, the industry gap says that there are jobs, but children and the young students are not skilled enough to take those jobs, right? And when I was working, I always felt that there is this gap needs to be addressed. I was working as an R&D engineer, and I always felt that whatever we studied in engineering and whatever we are applying is not doing the justice. And that inspired me to establish Respire Experiential Learning and start working towards STEM education. And now I'll tell you what we believe in. We believe that a child, when it comes to a lab or when is learning something, should focus on learn, make, and discover. So let us say that whatever they're reading, they need to first learn that. Okay, you have learned that there is in this is a scientific principle. Making, which is one point which is very much deficient in our current education system. Make things, we have to encourage our young generation to make things, take risks, get those hands-on experience. Like, we are all learning about friction, but where is friction used? Friction is used in tires, so why not make one you having different friction ratios? So we inspire children to make things. And then is discover. Making should not stop, it should, next step is discover. We want the student to go and discover the concepts, whatever they like. Let us say, for example, any child wants to explore more into electronics. We want them to discover. And how do you do that? We give them an access to technology, access to proper tools. And that is the main ideology which I say. If we want that 21st century skills has to reach out to everyone, we need to inspire these kids to learn, make, and discover. And that is how we started establishing the concept, and that is how we inspire children to go and just not learn the concept of maths and science, but then make and discover the same. And we have been very lucky to work in rural areas where children from a very underestimated background come and get those hands-on education in their demographic language, in their local language. And that is one principle which inspires us a lot, that science and technology should not have a language barrier. And because if you are making an app language does not has to be a a barrier, and that is why we are taking this into all local languages. We have right now in 5 local languages, and we inspire to work in more and more rural area. But apparently, learn, make, and explore in the rural parts of our country is what inspires, and that is how we are also working on all our modules with kids.
Right. And I think this the principle of, as you have mentioned, learn, discover, make, and how we can apply, how a kid should apply what he has learned or she has learned is extremely important, because it's not just rote memorization that you keep learning and absorbing a lot of knowledge without applying and going through those challenges. So it's very crucial. And second, as you have also put out, that learning in your own languages, in the vernacular languages, rather than restricting the students to just one medium, one mode of learning, is not doing justice for their learning. So that's wonderful to hear. And to move forward, I would like to ask the second question, that how do you foster a sense of global responsibility while encouraging critical thinking, analytical skills, decision making, and efficiency amongst the students?
So when you say critical thinking, analytical skills, and decision making, and logical reasoning, these all fall under 21st century skill.
Yeah.
And Respire's vision right now is to have 21st century skills for all. And 21st century skills does not just include what is there in their curriculum, but we also focus on whatever there is more or a child would need when he or she grows and goes out in the market to take up the job, right? And it's not only about the technical part, it's also about the humanitarian and human skills that children develop along with that. So for example, I'll just give a small example. In a area where we were working, it's an highly agricultural area, agriculture focused economy in village, and there in all schools we made sure that we introduce agricultural technologies to the students. So we introduced drip irrigation, DIY drip irrigation. We introduced DIY sensor-based soil testing. So, and how there is a harvesting cycle, and what are the crops that are new and can be introduced in such soil conditions, soils and weather condition. Now this is not in their curriculum, but this is going to help them to survive and sustain as an economy. We don't want these kids unnecessarily to come to city for looking for jobs. Right now in today's world, anybody can do anything remotely within from their area, and villages have huge potential for that. So when we say 21st century skills, we made sure that we will also introduce agriculture if that is needed for a child, right? Similarly, we have been also introducing SDG, Sustainable Development Goal by UN. We have been also introducing nutrition as in a lot of hands-on ways to school-going child K-12, and this has helped us to not only and into a very practical way. Like SDGs, we have introduced in a board game method. So it should not be happening that kids are just learning the SDGs as well. They should know where is it applied. We have seen effects. So what we have seen, there was a school in a community in Gujarat we were working with. And with hydraulic, which we have taught, the skills actually repaired a window using that principle, which is hydraulic. So we were so happy to see that. Why? Because that is what our own aim is. That is that we children are not doing this even also to make a model, right? That okay, model bana diya, ho gaya. We want them to apply this in the real life, and that is where. When we say that, that is where we sense that one, there is a global responsibility which you are talking about, but then there is a very micro level change we want to bring in, and we need to bridge that gap. And 21st century skills and all those hands-on tools and development are a tool to achieve that. And this is how we are very much focused on getting children with an application based learning, that is helping us to reach out to a global goal we all aim for.
Thank you for sharing that example with us. It's very inspiring to hear such kind of stories, because kids can do wonderful job if they have given such platform and opportunities. So thank you for that. And now to move further, I would like to ask that what was the idea behind setting up low-cost innovation labs with hands-on learning solutions, as you have mentioned, and a demographics-based curriculum?
So when we started, we used to work in urban areas. We used to work in urban cities, Ahmedabad, Bombay, Gurgaon, and there was one opportunity where I got a chance to visit to one of the tribal areas in Gujarat, and I realized that kids there were had a huge potential, like huge potential, appetite to learn and appetite to apply in their real life. They wanted to solve their own problems, right? They wanted to make sure that if they can repair their own cycle to go to school, if they can have renewable energy to have a torch running in their home. So that visit changed me. That visit made sure that whatever robotics, STEM education, and 21st century skills we are working with the urban children, why not take that to the rural and tribal economy? And that opened the doors for us. We did our research. We realize that here there is a barrier. One is of infrastructure and tools, and second is the language is a huge barrier, because even the teachers there are not so well versed with English, and all the freely content available which is there on internet is mostly in English. So that has inspired us to go in the rural areas and develop content in a way they want. And that is where we came up with our motto of 21st century skills for all. Because 21st century skills, we don't want that major population of our country to be left out. We want them to be within that learning ecosystem. And how we will do that? We will design curriculum for that. If you want a child to learn IoT is not that fancy, which only urban children will learn. IoT can be tricked into it by smaller examples and for very simpler things and in a local language for children sitting in a very remote location. And that is how we have decided that we'll go in rural economy. Now the point was the costing. The costing was always issue when we started working in rural economy. They had their fixed budget. The government schools had their own limitation, and even the space constraint within the school. So that is where we decided, no, we will design our labs into very low cost. So a full-fledged lab of around 90 students per class for 6 to 10 costs around 3.5 to 4 lakhs. Now, this also includes infrastructure, civil work, and robotics, STEM education. 70% curriculum is covered, and 30% extracurricular activities and SDGs, everything is covered within this. And we make sure that most of the items are reusable. So the idea behind low cost innovation labs were to reach out to maximum students. So we have at present worked it with 487 schools already. We have our labs in 487 schools, and we have worked with 4.2 lakh children in these schools itself. So if we wanted to achieve that, then the cost sustainability was a major factor for us, and that is why we have always targeted for the low cost. So all our furnitures are modular. They can be reused, they can be moved, and all our items are mostly recyclable, reusable, and that is where this model goes into a economic model.
It's great to hear, that it's important also that we should include the rural kids as well, because most of our interventions, if they focus on the urban or the semi-urban regions, we large portion of students who are staying in the rural areas or they belong to the underserved communities, they get left out. So the kind of work that you're doing is really amazing to see, that you have built a model, a low cost innovation model, to bring all the students, to integrate them, and so that they can pursue further careers in science and the entire domain of STEM. So that's really good to hear. And to move further, I would like to ask that I've recently come across one of your initiatives, that girls do science, and I found it very interesting. So that basically aims to develop gender specific educational tools to encourage girls to take up STEM careers. So could you please walk us through this initiative of yours?
Okay, I'll start with a very interesting example. There was one workshop we were doing, and that workshop was lower economic background people, and it was a free workshop. And parallelly in that that whole setup, there was an art and craft workshop as well. Now there was a parent who had an elder daughter and a younger son, and he came to us and enrolled his son in a workshop and not his daughter. In fact, uski daughter who was standing there was telling that I want to go into the science workshop, not in the art and craft workshop. Now that parent says that what are you going to do with the science workshop? You have to do it. You can more focus on art and craft and doing that seeing machine and all. So now this I was standing there and this surprised me. This was, I knew always, so being growing up as an engineer and working in a company, I knew that biases existed, but biases existing when even if a child is interested, that was too much for me to handle. And then slowly and gradually we started doing the survey. There was a batch of 200 girls which we did survey. These are in the urban sector, and we asked them to write. So there is a test, international test called Draw a Scientist. You can read about it. So Draw a Scientist. So we asked them to write four to five scientists name they know, right? And 200 girls wrote 4 to 5 scientists' name: APJ Abdul Kalam, Isaac Newton, and some of them wrote Elon Musk, and everybody wrote their own right. And then we collected the whole liking. There were only 3 girls who wrote Marie Curie. And that too, Marie Curie was not an Indian scientist. That was the only name. Marie Curie was the only name in that list. When we asked them to list down that why didn't they think of somebody else, they had no clue. Then we showed them the photograph of Tessie Thomas and other Indian women scientists, and they were not able to identify them at all. And then we disclose them the name, that okay, this is the scientist working with ISRO, this is the scientist who was the first, she was the first physician of India, and they didn't knew the name. They were clueless. These are 200 girls and 3 division of 1 standard. And when we asked them that why is it that you don't know Indian women scientists, they say that our textbooks have not taught us. So textbook, media, or newspapers, they have not seen their name. So in their newspaper, they'll see APJ Abdul Kalam's name. They'll say about quotes from Newton, but they don't mention about Indian women scientists. And that is where we realize that there are not enough role model for these young girls. And that is why they are under this strata that science is for mainly a male dominant society, for a fracture, and women are more into white collar jobs. So then we looked into, if you dig in the data, in US, they have like almost very less, only 30% women representing in STEM. In India, in education, there is a very good number when it comes to girls involving into engineering and STEM science field. But when it comes to take up the jobs, the data is very less. We say that it's only 18% to 20% involvement of women in STEM actually working in the field. Now, this is very surprising. So, because we don't come through that mindset, they have not seen role models. How many enough ISRO scientists, women ISRO scientists you have seen, or how many? Even if I speak to some very knowledgeable person, they'll not be able to name more than 3 to 4 women scientists, and that was very funny. And that is when we realized we'll start Girls Do STEM, Girls Do Science initiative, and we do a workshop where we first go through this whole process, and then we introduce them about the stories from different scientists in a comic form. These are the all women scientists, and we want that these girls also try to identify these leaders and don't feel that they are left alone. They have an inspiration to look upon. And then we do a hackathon or we do a DIY workshop depending on the time and resources. And for example, when we did our first workshop with girls, the project these girls did was they designed shoes which has a sensor in it. So these girls were going to school in rickshaw, and they wanted that if there is a sense of discomfort, or if they feel that the security is not good in the plant, so there is a button in their shoes which will start doing the buzzer. even though this sounds naive, but these girls made the whole working prototype of this. And this shows two things. First, girls are worried about their security. And second is that if given a chance to develop a technology for that, they are very up for it. So, but we need to push them. We need to tell them that there are enough women innovators, there are enough women makers, and you are not alone, and you need to. So that no parent and no child should feel that, okay, girls are more interested into art and craft, and boys are interested into science. It's ultimately not biasing anywhere else. Ideally, if a boy wants to do an art and craft and girls want to do a science, it should be okay.
And
And this is how we do the workshop, and we are also in process to design a comic book for especially encouraging young girls to take up STEM.
that's really good to hear because, as a woman, we all have seen and faced such biases in our lives somewhere or the other, and this bias still exists when it comes to science or selecting science dominated fields. So it's always there in the mind of parents and even the girls themselves. They are not very confident because they have not given that kind of inspirational environment from their neighbors or their friends or even the parents. So the kind of initiative that you have taken up, it's really inspiring, and the approach that you have taken, it's just really commendable. So thank you for sharing that with us. You would
Thank
like to add something?
No, I just want to say we feel that there are not enough women out there. Women also don't
Definitely.
share their
Yeah.
success story, and we don't market ourselves, and that is doing a harm to the younger generation. So it's a two-way process. We need to more market the current Indian women instead.
Right. I think the example that you have shared about women scientists, it's very true. If you ask any random person that
Yeah.
you have to name them, they because it's not in the media, it's not in the textbook,
Not
and
in the media, it's not in the
yeah,
newspaper. Yeah, that's right.
it's important to bridge that gender gap, gender bias, and bring as many women as possible who are interested to pursue this kind of field. So thank you for that. And this brings us to the last question for today: that what role partnerships play in scaling your impact and to reach to large number of students?
So, partnerships is the biggest stakeholder when you want to reach out to anywhere, when you are into a social enterprise. My team at Respire, we have worked with 4.2 lakh students. And when we did that, it is because our team is having a very good knowledge of technical part, right? We have operations are strong, our technical parts are strong. If we want to reach out to, so right now we are working in 8 states. And if we want to reach out to all the states, partnership is only the key to tap that. So we have had partners of NGO, government organizations, and CSRs as well. Like for example, one of an NGO we work with is a Global Himalayan Expedition, and we have worked with and we have established a lab in Kargil with them. And we were able to reach out to Kargil because they already work with the community over there, and that is how partnerships help a good idea to reach to the places where they have not imagined. And this is how we have worked with Unchar, we have worked with NTPC. And this is because we did a partnership with NTPC. It is not, we can't reach out to those community without having a strong partner. So having a stronger community partner has helped us to reach to our goal, and has kept us to have a focus on developing the content and doing a stronger operations and making this sustainable. Partnership makes this whole model sustainable. It's not that you set up a lab and you get out of it. It's your community partner which will make sure that people keep using that, the impact is happening. So if you want your sustainable impact to be there is no other way than partnership, because alone we can't reach out to all those places and to all those stakeholders and kids. It's the via the partner that has helped us to reach out to this number.
Right, and I agree that partnerships play a very crucial role in making any program successful because it helps you to reach to the last mile, to reach to a large number
Yes.
of people in the communities. So, yeah, so thank you. That brings our interview to a close. Thank you so much for taking out your time and for joining us today. It was lovely interacting with you, and I wish you all the best for all your future endeavors. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Isha, and thank you to the CSR Box team to give the opportunity to have this impact on. And we look forward to the other collaborations. Thank you. Bye bye.